Kid Cudi didn't hold back. "I hated every minute." And he wasn't talking about a bad concert gig or a messy awards show. He was talking about taking the witness stand in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial. Why was Cudi dragged into this legal hurricane? What did he say that has both fans and lawyers buzzing? And why could his words be the moment the trial took a sharp turn? Right now, Diddy's trial is a circus. Packed courtrooms, headline-chasing reporters, and a witness list that reads like a billboard chart. Kid Cudi's appearance wasn't a publicity stunt, it was a subpoena. He was compelled to be there, whether he liked it or not, because prosecutors believed he had something important to add. What he shared was raw, emotional, and risky. The kind of testimony that can sway public opinion, rattle the defense, and maybe even influence the verdict. Kid Cudi's connection to Diddy wasn't random. The two have crossed paths in the music industry for years. Same award shows, same industry events, and enough mutual acquaintances to keep them in overlapping circles. They weren't inseparable collaborators, but close enough that prosecutors believed Cudi had insight into the timeline of events they were trying to build. When the subpoena came, it didn't arrive with a polite "please." It was a legal command. Under U.S. law, a subpoena compels you to appear in court and give testimony. Refuse without a valid reason, and you risk being held in contempt, which can mean fines or, in extreme cases, even jail time. Cudi didn't have the option to say, "I'd rather not." Once you're designated a material witness, the court has decided you have information that could be crucial to the case. It doesn't matter if you're a Grammy-winning artist or a total unknown. The law treats both the same in that moment. The music industry has seen this before. Chris Brown was subpoenaed to testify in assault-related cases involving members of his entourage. Lil' Kim famously testified in a federal perjury trial after a shooting outside a New York radio station, and ended up serving time herself for lying under oath. For Cudi, the stakes weren't about facing charges himself, but about being thrust into a trial where every detail is magnified. The lawyers wanted him on the stand for a reason. Maybe to confirm a timeline, maybe to shed light on a key meeting, maybe to put a familiar face to part of the prosecution's story. And once you're on that witness list, your life changes. Suddenly your travel plans, work schedule, even your music commitments take a backseat to the trial calendar. Which brings us to the moment he walked into that courtroom, where the stage lights were replaced by fluorescent bulbs, the audience by jurors, and the music by the sound of lawyers sharpening their questions. Walking into a courtroom as a witness is nothing like walking on stage at a sold-out show. When Kid Cudi entered, there was no warm-up act, no cheers, no spotlight glow. Instead, there's a quiet hum of tension. Lawyers flipping through binders, the court reporter testing her keys, the judge eyeing the clock, and somewhere in the gallery, journalists poised with notepads, ready to turn every facial expression into a headline. The process starts predictably. You're sworn in. Right hand up, promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But from that moment on, every word is part of the official record and will be replayed, quoted, and dissected. First, the prosecution takes their turn. Their job is to guide you toward the facts they want the jury to hear, the moments that fit neatly into their version of the story. This is where they might ask about specific dates, conversations, or events they believe link you to the bigger case. Then comes the defense, and this is where it gets intense. Cross-examination is designed to test your memory, question your credibility, and, if possible, trip you up. They can bring up inconsistencies, challenge your recollection, even hint at motives that might skew your version of events. It's not personal, it's strategy. But sitting in that chair with every eye in the room on you, it can feel like an interrogation. Cudi later admitted, "I hated every minute." And that's no surprise. Court testimony isn't a casual chat. It's a chess match where one wrong move, one poorly chosen word, can be twisted to serve the other side's narrative. Even seasoned performers struggle in this environment. There's no script, no second take, and no crowd to give you energy. Just the knowledge that somewhere, a jury is weighing every pause, every tone shift, every detail you share. And while the legal process is grueling on its own, for Cudi, there was a deeper layer. The emotional toll of speaking out in such a high-stakes public arena. When Kid Cudi said, "I hated every minute," it wasn't about courtroom theatrics, it was about what the experience did to him personally. Cudi's no stranger to sharing his struggles with mental health. He's been open about battles with depression, anxiety, and the work it takes to keep himself balanced. Now, imagine taking that vulnerability and dropping it into a high-pressure courtroom where every glance, every word, is analyzed by strangers. For many witnesses, celebrity or not, testifying means revisiting uncomfortable, sometimes painful moments. You're asked to recall events in exact detail, often under pressure and with the added weight of legal consequences if you get it wrong. For Cudi, that also meant his private interactions and personal memories could become part of the public record, discussed not just in court, but on every entertainment site and social media feed within hours. Other celebrities have described similar strain. Britney Spears once compared depositions during her conservatorship battles to a never-ending nightmare. Taylor Swift, in her groping trial, spoke about the emotional exhaustion of answering intimate questions in front of a room full of strangers. The emotional toll isn't just about reliving the past. It's about knowing that whatever you say will live on forever in transcripts, headlines, and sound bites. There's no taking it back, no editing for context, no way to make sure people hear your words the way you meant them. And for someone like Cudi, whose public image is tied to authenticity, that loss of control can be gut-wrenching. But as draining as it is, testimony has consequences far beyond how the witness feels. Because in a trial like this, the words you speak under oath can ripple through the entire case. Testimony in a case this big isn't just a moment on the calendar, it's a move on the chessboard. If the jury found Kid Cudi's words believable, if his tone matched his story, if his memory seemed sharp, if his account aligned with other evidence, then his time on the stand just became a powerful tool for the prosecution. Jurors don't just absorb facts, they absorb credibility. And a credible witness can tip the scales in subtle but significant ways. But credibility is fragile. The defense's job is to find the cracks, inconsistencies in his timeline, gaps in his recollection, any sign that his perspective might be biased. Even something as small as hesitation on a date or detail can be used to plant doubt. That's why celebrity witnesses are such a double-edged sword. On one hand, their presence commands attention. Jurors tend to perk up when someone famous takes the stand. On the other, fame can backfire. A defense attorney can hint that the witness is chasing publicity, that the media frenzy is influencing their words, or that personal history is coloring their account. We've seen it play out before. In the O.J. Simpson trial, celebrity witnesses became media fixtures. But some were remembered more for their headlines than their helpfulness to the case. In other cases, a star's testimony has been weaponized to suggest ulterior motives, whether or not they exist. For Cudi, the risk wasn't about what fans might think. It was about how 12 strangers in a jury box interpreted his every word. If they saw him as genuine, it could reinforce the prosecution's narrative. If they saw him as irrelevant or unreliable, the defense could chalk him up as courtroom noise. And in trials like this, where public opinion and legal strategy collide, the story doesn't end when the witness leaves the stand. It only shifts to a new battlefield, the court of public opinion. The moment Kid Cudi stepped down from the witness stand, the trial wasn't the only place his testimony was being dissected. Outside those courtroom walls, the media machine roared to life. Within hours, entertainment blogs had pulled his quotes, slapped them into headlines, and paired them with paparazzi photos. Cable news panels debated whether his appearance meant the prosecution was stacking emotional weight onto their case. Social media, that was a battlefield all its own. Hashtags trending, fan bases defending him, critics questioning why he was there at all. This is where the court of public opinion kicks in. In high-profile cases, perception can run parallel to, and sometimes overshadow, the actual trial. The prosecution knows this. The defense knows it too. That's why high-visibility witnesses like Cudi become more than just a source of testimony. They're part of the public narrative the jury can't help but hear about, even if they're told to avoid media coverage. The defense might try to downplay his role, portraying him as an emotional diversion rather than a factual powerhouse. They might suggest he was only called to create headlines, not to deliver anything concrete. Prosecutors, on the other hand, will lean into the credibility and humanity of his words, knowing the image of Cudi, a well-known artist reluctantly speaking under oath, could stick in jurors' minds long after the trial moves on. And here's the thing. In a celebrity trial, the public's reaction isn't just noise. It can shape the environment the case plays out in. from the tone of media questions to the way other witnesses feel about stepping forward. Which is why, whether Cudi liked it or not, his short time on the stand may end up echoing in this trial far longer than he ever expected. For Kid Cudi, this wasn't a collaboration, a cameo, or some headline grab he volunteered for. It was a legal summons that forced him into one of the most high-pressure situations of his life, a courtroom packed with lawyers, cameras, and a case that's already part music history, part legal thriller. He walked in, told his truth under oath, and walked out knowing every word would be analyzed, debated, and maybe even twisted in the weeks to come. And if you believe the buzz, his testimony may have added more weight to the prosecution's case than anyone expected. But here's the question. Did Cudi's time on the stand actually push this case closer to a verdict? Or was it just another headline in a trial already drowning in celebrity drama? Drop your verdict in the comments, because when the next wave of witnesses hits, we'll be here to break it down, frame by frame, gavel by gavel. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We've got more legal tea brewing than the jurors' break room.